Ready your breakfast and eat hearty. But tonight, we dine in...
The Celtics are NBA champions.
Don't do it, Shaq. Shaq, it's not worth it. We're not showing Shaq. It's not worth it, Shaq. It's not worth it, Shaq. Come on, Shaq.
We'll get you back to basketball in just a second. I want to let you know what's going on with a new warning now. This area is for southeast Livingston counties and also in from Wayne County, I should say.
It is burning up right now. And on top of that, it's a thunderstorm. So I am being electrocuted and burnt at the same time. It's a tornado of fire, a fire-nado right now. There are those of you who are watching this, and some of you have said in comments, you're like, oh, that's nothing. We're over here, we're used to this and now. That ain't nothing. That's just I'm not. Bravo, you're Human Torch. Congratulations. I can't deal with this. I'm not. And on top of this, Celtics do what they do, but then again, that's not really surprising. We learned this, or the more sensible ones of us learned this fact at Game 3? The ones who are high on copium, hopes, dreams, wishes, and phantasms, you found out the hard way, unfortunately. Before the game, Luka had shades on. I was like, oh, look at twinsies. No, this isn't like a LeBron. No. You put shades on to shoot 2 for 9 from 3-point range. And 3 for 21 over the entirety of most of these games, or just some normally awful stat. LaShades can't help you, Luka. And neither can PJ Washington for that matter. 0 for 5 shooting from 3. 2 for 7 on the night. I don't know how players can go from one series being highly dependable, available, a major contributor, to being an absolute negative. It's not like you a star player having different defenders thrown on you over and over again and people making game plans and adjustments for you specifically. We're just asking you to do what you have been doing these whole playoffs. But all of a sudden you can't do that. And you're left wide open too and can't do that. Change your name. You are barred from being called Washington after those undemocratic ass shots you took. You're PJ Nixon from this point forward. Kyrie and Luka playing like plumbers on the hardest difficulty. Wasn't that Van Gundy or someone or a bunch of people start saying best shooting backcourt of all time? No.
I'm blinded by the lights.
They're too bright. Turn them off.
I take the ball. I bounce it. I shoot. I miss it.
It's 7 p.m. Friday. It's 95 degrees. I ain't got no nigga, and no nigga ain't got me.
I'll tear into the Mavericks after I congratulate the Celtics. Failure, while painful, can be a great teacher. The Celtics learned that and then some last year. Not only that, but years previous, almost getting there, practically being there as they were in 2022, just wasn't quite ready. You had a lot of people talking bad about Tatum, Jaylen Brown, myself included, as well as the makeup of the team, Joe Mazzulla himself being coach, them letting go of Ime Udoka after that controversy, trading Marcus Smart, which at the time I didn't think was pretty smart. All of those trials and tribulations culminating into a title. I saw a lot of people showcase their grief, their anger, their frustration in the Celtics winning, saying this is the worst finals ever. How? Do you say that just because the Celtics won? Because I remember last year, this is the most boring finals ever, but people weren't saying it was the most hated one. And that too was a gentleman's sweep. Did we forget about the 2007 finals where a Cleveland Cavaliers team that had no business being there went up against an all-powerful Spurs team? Or how about that 2018 snooze fest where it was LeBron and a bunch of bowling pins up against the most OP team ever in Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant? In both of those series, it was a foregone conclusion who would win. It was just a matter of, are you getting swept or aren't you? I think this vitriol mostly comes from how hyped people were for these finals. And if you look at it that way, then I would say this is probably one of the most disappointing finals ever. But to call this the worst, I personally could not agree. 2018 was way worse than this. I didn't expect a 5-game series, even with Celtics missing Porzingis, who PJ Washington tossed down on the ground thinking he was Brittany Renner. I think a lot of people's feelings are in flux on these finals, but that can be its own video. In the beginning of this game, it started off slow. Celtics were playing some great defense out the gate, but they weren't exactly going in like I thought they would. I thought it was going to be a buzzsaw in the first quarter after that meltdown, that utter embarrassment that they put on in Game 4, but it wasn't. Mavericks started off the game 1 for 9, but they weren't out of it because the Celtics weren't making many of their shots either. They were still making theirs a hell of a lot better than the Mavericks. And I noticed the Mavericks were going after Porzingis. They were making him work in different possessions. They were able to utilize him just not looking himself, being slow, going up in transition. You could clearly see he's still injured, but he came out there and played as best he could. And they took advantage of that. The game was close, and I thought, oh, wow, this could actually be a game that could go down to the wire. I blinked, and they went up 10 points. The Celtics went up 10 points. What just happened? Everything that could go wrong went wrong for the Mavericks. Just that little bit of time. And then the second quarter came. Then the third, it was just more of the same problems. And then you had that man, Pritchard Potter, again. How does he do it?
Bloody hell!
Josh Green for the Mavericks, though, he was consistent. He was dependable. He was a bucket. Everything that PJ Washington and Klebo weren't. And once those threes started falling in the second quarter, I started having PTSD flashbacks from serving in Nam. Combine that with Drew Hyena out there just being a pest, Hauser being a pest, or should I say Schnauzer, hounding them being a pest. Grade A pests on this team. Celtics are a team that can share the heavy lifting. It's not a team that's defined by one player's existence and their ability to do good, kind of like the Mavericks are, unfortunately, which I thought, and a lot of us thought, they had passed that phase in their team management or their growth, where it's not just Luka-centric. It begins with him and ends with him. And it seemed like it reverted back to that in this series. Uniquely, this series, among every other series these playoffs. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, very unselfish. You don't have to deal with either one of them trying to vie for the most attention or be the guy, quote unquote. They're perfectly fine with taking a backseat and letting the other one go to work, vice versa. That's all you can really want for a team. That's team basketball at the end of the day. It may not be something that is like sexy for a lot of people, but it gets the job done, and that's what gets you championships, as well as outstanding defense that they played throughout the entirety of this series and even series before this one. Dallas had no hope of winning this series unless the Celtics mentally crumbled and they put on a performance like they did in Game 4, and they would have to do that same stinker for 3 more consecutive games. It just wasn't going to happen. And what Kyrie said here made me realize things were over.
How's it feel?
Yeah, at least one. That's what we needed just to get this thing going.
He said, at least one. That is relieved rhetoric. That is, thank God we're not going to get swept vernacular. But in many ways, you guys kind of did deserve to get swept, even though it didn't happen, for plays like this. Worst play of the game. Down 17 in the third quarter, and we're taking shots like Curry. Why? Why is this allowed? Why is this seen as normal? Look at this man's expression. Perfect expression for this Frankenstein-ass shot. And that's not just a Luka thing. That's an NBA thing. That's an NBA problem that I do not like. That's another video. 2 videos so far and just 1.
I try so hard, can't seem to get away from misery.
2 hours later.
My perfect attendance record is ruined now. It's just so bad. Nothing works out. This is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Kyrie diving into the Celtics crowd to get that ball. I said, that's a mosh pit from hell. We may never see you again. They go stomp you out. Jaylen Brown won Finals MVP like I thought he would. It's not really much of a prediction. He was the obvious choice. I saw this is the first time in 7 years the team with the best regular season record won the championship. Mavericks looked and played like a 5th seed going up against the best team in the NBA in the Celtics this series. Too many offensive rebounds, way too many offensive rebounds. Too many turnovers, too many botched shots, too many dumb wasted possessions. Even when the Mavericks were able to stay in the game, it was only due to the Celtics missing shots they shouldn't have. And when the Mavericks would get the ball, they wouldn't do anything with it. Those offensive rebounds the Celtics kept getting were so deflating when you're already down by 20 or more and you can't get the offensive rebound and it's happening over and over and over again. It's just going to make the problem that's already seemingly insurmountable sheer impossible at this point. In order for the Mavericks to have even made this a 6-game series, they would have had to play perfectly. Both Kyrie and Luka would have had to go for 30. They need someone else coming off the bench or somebody in the starting lineup, being PJ Washington or someone to get double-digit points. And the Celtics would have to mentally crumble, shoot themselves out the game, and Porzingis would just not come back permanently. All of those things have to go right in order for the Mavericks to maybe make this a 6-game series. 7 games is completely out of the question, and even if it were to have gotten 7 games, it would have been back in Boston, and you still would have lost. There was just nothing to be done about it. The Celtics are the better team on paper in 3D and 5D, and due to that fact, they reclaimed their title as the winningest team in NBA history. Congratulations, Boston Celtics. It's good to see that Bob Cousy got to see the Celtics win one more time. It's a shame Bill Russell isn't here to see this, but I know he would be very proud. I give a huge hearty congratulations to Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, especially Al Horford, including Derek White, who lost a tooth over this, or he chipped a tooth. He said he's willing to lose all his teeth for this championship. That's all you could ask for in a teammate. Winning Mamba mentality right there. Mavericks, you thrilled us. You filled us with joy these playoffs. I wanted you to win. Many others wanted you to win, but that dream was nothing more than pie in the sky. Like the Kendrick and J. Cole collab album. It simply wasn't meant to be. And with that, playoff mode is deactivated. I learned something about myself during these playoffs. I am a system.